We're live. We're late, but we're live. 3 minutes late. It's AV's
Not
fault.
late.
AV's fault. Hello, happy Friday. We're doing this a little late in the week, but we've been so busy here at Avero Advisors. It's been good. It's been really good. AV, how are you today? Good.
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to the weekend. How are you?
Yes. I I myself am looking very much forward to the weekend as well. It's been a crazy week, crazy week. So today we're going to talk a little bit about housing authorities and
Hmm.
digital transformation and what that looks like in the realm of the housing authority market. It's a little different, but most things are the same, right? They have the same problems. So to start off, let's talk about some of the differences when we go into a public housing authority. What are some of those differences when we're talking about digital transformation?
So the business of a public housing authority is, providing housing for people that are low income, that are in a tough spot, and of course that provides a lot of complexity to the whole operation because now you're talking about making sure that the people that are applying for housing they're actually eligible for it, that they're not forging documents, that they're not um, applying for things that they're not eligible for. So with that comes the challenge of uh, applying, like getting their applications, getting all their documentation that includes sensitive data like who's in your family, how much money do you make, where do you live, what's the
Mhm.
composition of your family. All of that is sensitive information from a financial perspective, from a HIPAA standpoint and privacy, other privacy laws. So when you're setting up systems within a housing authority, you have to make sure that it can safeguard at a minimum all of that information you're bringing in. So in our experience, most housing authorities are like most city and county organizations in that they're behind in terms of technology. It's a lot of paper. They're doing things on Excel or broken old systems, and it's not easy to bring that kind of organization into digitally modernized situation. So a lot of nuances and complexities as it relates to public housing authorities, but they're not very dissimilar from our other local government or government clients. The other thing too is housing authorities have a lot of autonomy as far as what they do because they don't answer to anyone locally. They don't answer to anyone at the state level. They are agents of the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government, the HUD, that only reports to Congress. So their financial streams are different, their reporting streams are different, and there's a lot of reporting that goes on. So your systems need to be robust enough that they can safeguard data, but at the same time they can help you report on very critical, very detailed items that the federal government asks them to on a monthly basis, at least.
Right, right. So how is that information safeguarded? Just say when we go in and we consult and we're maybe implementing a new system, how do we go about safeguarding that very personal information?
So it comes down to, again, requirements definitions and making sure you identify those pieces of information that need to be safeguarded as such,
Mhm.
right? I mean, they have mechanisms. If even if they're doing business on pen and paper, they have filing rooms that are secure, and they have, like they've got it nailed down because they know what the requirements are. Now, transitioning that to a digital environment is where you have to make sure that you're not only keeping track of sensitive information, but also making sure that you're staying up to date with retention standards and retention schedules that any government agency would ask for you for compliance and reporting. So how do we safeguard? I think picking the right software partner is critical in all of that. Like with any of our clients, you
Mhm.
have to make sure that you have the right requirements, you've designed the system well, that you've designed the um, security standards, meaning who gets to access what level of the system, who gets to access what kind of data. That's level one of securing your data systems. And then beyond that, you can get into how secure is your network, because if you're accessing the system that's in the cloud, that's software as a service. You have to make sure that your IT environment, your infrastructure is secure enough that it doesn't fall prey to phishing attacks or ransomware attacks and things like that. So the standards don't differ from a housing authority to any other kind of client, which is why we can easily switch from PHAs to utilities to public, any kind of public sector agency. So for housing authorities, there's a lot more at stake, like it would be for a healthcare agency or for a utility department. But the methods don't change.
Right. In your experience, what role does automation play in modernizing the way housing authorities operate?
Oh, it's huge. Traditionally, housing housing authorities work on pen and paper. That's you walk into a housing authority and they're inundated with paper. There's stacks of files everywhere. So how is it different from any other government organization? I think there's a degree of more paperwork
Mhm.
associated with housing authorities, different kinds of forms, different kinds of reports, different kinds of supporting documentation that people that are looking for these services submit that need to be safeguarded, recorded, kept accessible, and backed up. So when you transition that to the digital environment, you have to take all of those things into account and make sure that your processes are streamlined.
Mhm.
Fundamentally, that becomes the issue then, right? You're going from a 40, 50-year-old process where you're taking in paper forms and paper backup documentation to suddenly going online and taking in applications from your website and application portals. You have to then, before you go there, you have to make sure that your processes are streamlined and that you're not asking the systems to do things that are unnatural to a computer system.
Right. Let's talk about business process mapping a little bit and how we do that using BlueWorks Live. Because I think it's very important when you're talking about these clunky processes within housing authorities and all this data and all this paper. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so business process analysis. My first exposure to that was, gosh, 18 years ago.
You're
Um, I
so,
know, I know, wise. Um, and it we used to use this thing called Microsoft Visio, which a lot of our competitors still use. Shame on
Mhm.
you. But we have since moved on. About 5 years ago, we started using IBM BlueWorks Live, which is a great product. It's a very specialized product, so not anyone can use it, but we can use it. And the key to that product is that it allows you to live model business processes as you're doing your workshop. So traditionally, you would do a session, you would take notes, and then you would go back and build your maps in Visio. And then, if you were a bad note taker, you were lost because you had to then go back to the clients and ask them to fill the gaps in your knowledge or notes. Um, Blueworks Live kind of reduces the time it takes to create maps from, like, the benchmark back in the day was 40 hours per process map. So if you're looking at intake maps, you're taking 40 hours to including the sessions and back and forth to just come up with like the first draft of a map. Now that all of that's reduced to like 8 to 16 hours because you're
Mhm.
doing it live within as you're doing your sessions, you're also mapping so that people that are in the sessions can look at what you're doing, understand what the process looks like. And the cool thing about BlueWorks Live is that it also helps you resource your process, meaning it'll tell you if you've done this right. This is where it gets complicated. If you can feed it with the right kind of data, it'll give you the right kind of outputs. So you
Mhm.
can tell it that a certain step in the process takes, I don't know, 3 hours for one person, right?
Right.
What if you add another person to it? What does that do to the overall timeline? How does the flow change, and what happens to the system requirements? All of that is automated in this system, and we've been able to deliver tremendous value to our clients, just in terms of saving time on how long it takes to map processes compared to what it is on Microsoft Visio.
hmm And after we map those processes, can you talk about the checklist a little bit that's created from that mapping, and how we go to market or help our clients go to market for the correct system based on the business process mapping?
Yeah, so in the housing authority marketplace, there's like two or three systems. There's not a lot of choice
Right.
at this point. There's the 800-pound gorilla that has been around for a long time, has 80% of the market, I think, and then there are companies that are coming in from the private sector and upstart. So how do you make the choice for your organization, for your housing authority, that says this is the right system for us?
Mhm.
It all comes back to business process redesign, requirements definition. So going back to BlueWorks Live, once you have defined the process, you've set it up to be, here's what we want it to be in the future. The system actually gives you like level one of your requirements. You don't have to go back and do it in Excel. You may have to do it to refine it, give it more detail and definition. But again, it's saving us and our clients a lot of time by doing it that way. And then you take those requirements definitions and you apply them to um, your RFP and your software selection process. It makes it a lot more foolproof, right? There's less opportunity for your vendor community to mislead and lie on your requirements definition and um, take you down this path that you don't want to be on. So it's really critical that before you buy anything, I know there's only three or four systems, but don't just go by what seems to be the shiny object. Just don't go by what seems to be what the neighboring housing authority bought.
Right.
You have to go through this really hard work up front, which takes anywhere from a year and a half, 2 years, depending on how big you are and how messed up your internal processes might be. So doing the homework up front is really critical. Otherwise, you're stuck with a thing you bought that doesn't work for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I witnessed that yesterday, actually, a little bit. Some headache around that topic alone. So, with these best of breed systems, you say there are two or three. Are they typically not a one size fits all? How do I want to say this? Are they all encompassing? Is everything included, or are there needs to interconnect other systems within a housing authority?
So any software vendor will tell you that they can do it all,
Yeah.
right? Oh yeah, we've got financials, we've got HR, payroll, all of it. But you have to, and that may be true for some, but it's not true for most. It's did they buy some other system and welded it onto their core system?
Mhm.
And can they really seamlessly automate your processes? We've internally just gone through that, right? We had a marketing engine and a CRM that, you know, we were told that talks to each other and it's the same company, but it may be the same sticker, but is it really the same system? So you have to take a critical eye to how do your business processes flow through the new system. Again, going back to the first step in a system replacement, you have to look at business processes.
Yeah.
And if there is any point in there where it says change systems and do this in another system, we may not necessarily have a problem, but it's not a seamless environment. But I posted a video yesterday about best of breed solutions. It you know I think that's going to be the reality of the market going forward, because we have now seen that not every vendor can do everything well for every
Mhm.
client. So there are these very specialized solutions that are coming up that fulfill one part of the process or a few parts. And then you still have to go out and buy other pieces. But the good news is that integrations have become a lot more efficient through the use of APIs and open source and all of that. So it's not necessarily an integration challenge anymore. So you can safely go buy best of breed solutions that talk to each other seamlessly. And at the reporting level, you can buy things like Snowflake and Palantir and really build reporting um, from multiple sources of truth. So you as an executive don't necessarily have to dig into your systems to get the data that you need in a timely manner.
Right. Let's talk about maybe the IT department. What are some of the challenges within housing authorities as it relates to specifically to IT departments? Do they exist? Is there typically just one person who handles it all? What have you seen in your experience?
I've seen it all, right? It depends on how big the housing authority is, and even within a big housing authority, how much of what is their composition of services offered. The housing authority industry or landscape is changing too. They're moving to a more of a business oriented model where they're becoming development firms and property management companies, and traditional housing authority operations still exist, but that's not the focus. Because the mission is to make people self-sufficient, not just give them a place to stay forever. So from that standpoint, the IT organization is also evolving with the agency. Um, if it's a large agency, we've seen anywhere from 10 to 20 people in an organization. Smaller agencies have one person or it's an outsourced shop, and the challenges remain the same. You have your database experts, you have your applications experts, you have infrastructure experts, and the challenge is not specific to housing authorities. It's across the board for all of our clients. Is, do you understand the business and the outcomes the leadership's looking for? And if they can say yes confidently, then they have a good chance of success, being the CIO, IT manager, IT director of a housing authority. Layered on top of that is the security question, right? Housing authorities are have a lot of sensitive data that uh, bad guys want, or want access to. They want to put ransomware on on your data systems. So how good is an IT organization that is busy doing the small stuff like fixing printers and hanging TVs? We had a client where the CIO was he was spending his time hanging large screen TVs across the building, and it was a large housing authority, while his major projects were not getting done, and they were at serious risk of cyber threat. So again, nothing different. The subject matter changes a little bit because it is a housing authority. There's a lot of external facing processes and reporting involved. But
Mhm.
the bottom line is that if the IT organization doesn't understand the crux of the business and what goes on and what the outcomes need to be, they'll always not deliver.
Yeah, what are some things that maybe some of our housing authority employees that are watching, what are some of the things that they can do, some of the things they can ask to sort of break down those silos between IT and the rest of the organization?
So I think demanding, well, that may not be the right word, but defining your outcomes, right? And not taking a technical answer for why something can't be done.
Mhm.
Um, Not taking that at face value is the key to having IT organizations work for you as a functional leader or worker. A lot of times we see that, a department head or director, or even the CEO, executive director, wants a specific outcome, and they are not able to talk to IT because IT doesn't get it. They don't get the business, they don't get the outcome. And so their natural defense is, well, it can't be done because blah, 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 blinky lights don't turn green when I press these buttons. And as the CEO, I don't have any recourse but to believe that answer, right?
Right.
Um, the more progressive IT leaders understand the business. They are not in the weeds. Yes, they have teams or they have managed service providers that do that for them. But an IT director, a CIO's job today is to understand the business, understand the leadership, understand where the outcomes are coming from, and get those results, or give a business answer to why they can't achieve that, right? It's default to say we can't do it because we can't afford this thing that we've been asking for or never asked for in the first place. And the executive director or the CEO is going, well, why don't we go buy it then, right? And
Right.
that's also an unexpected answer for our CEO, CIO friends, which now means that they have to go implement this or find people to uh, um, bring and consult on and put it in place. So asking for the right thing in the right way is key, and not taking no for an answer is the other key, in
Yeah.
my experience.
How do we, or an organization like Avero, how do we work with IT departments when we're talking about these digital transformation efforts?
I think it comes down to finding commonalities in, right? Are you motivated to make improvements to this organization, or are you just, punching the clock, waiting for your retirement day? So that dictates a lot of what happens next. So, be it a housing authority, be it a city government, a utility, if we don't have buy-in from the IT director, the CIO, it becomes really difficult to get anything done. Of course, we go in, we try to be non-threatening. We don't want their jobs.
Right.
We want to make them the rock stars, right? They're the ones that have built this organization. They have um, grown it to where it is, and there's very good reasons to why certain decisions were made many years ago. So uh, it becomes difficult when we don't have a willing partner in an IT organization. And a lot of times, our team's brought in by the city manager, the mayor, executive directors, and they basically tell the CIO to play ball. But the best projects are where this is being originated by the IT department, and they're bought in, they're open to change, and they're open to a different way of doing things. So um, how do we deal with this in a nutshell? I think in a non-threatening way. Again, we have no aspirations of becoming their IT department. In many cases, it's warranted because it makes financial sense or it makes organizational sense to outsource the whole thing. But we don't go in asking for that. Our mission is to make lives better for our public housing authority executives, make the operations safer, make it more efficient, and at the end of the day, let people do what they're there for: serve the needy and the public that wants their services.
Yep, exactly. It takes transparency, right? We talked about that last week, accountability, and I think relationship building too. Like you said, we don't want their jobs, but we need them on the team because we
Hmm.
need them. We need them for certain things,
Exactly.
communications, data, what have you. So, just making sure that they're all for the project. What advice would you give an executive director who may be on the fence of, hey, I need to do this to make sure that my organization is more efficient for my citizens, but they really don't know where to start? What advice would you say to them?
So a lot of housing authorities, especially the mid-level ones that are not a New York Metro Housing Authority or a Chicago Housing Authority, they're stuck in this trap of, we have this system we have, and there isn't anything out there that's better. Or even if there is something out there that's better that we have, we have to spend a lot of money on it. Yeah, you do, because you're going to get a better product. Um, and then they're on the fence about bringing in a third party to implement. So if you're going from your current system to a new system that is more modern, better, more integrated, you're going to need a few different parties unless you have experts in house. You're going to need an implementation consultant, you're going to need project management, you're going to need your in-house staff to put in the long hours to make this happen, and it's not easy. So get prepared for that. But again, don't do it on your own. You housing authorities are notoriously overworked. They have a lot of work, and it really depends on how the economy is doing. Right? You saw this um, post COVID, immediately post COVID, when people had lost their jobs. Um, they couldn't find housing. That housing authorities had a lot of strain on them, and I don't think that's released any. So to find methods to become more efficient is the key to success in the long term. And I think that they need to lean on industry partners like us and the software vendors to help them get this through. A lot of times we find ourselves trying to convince them to not not just sign on the dotted line, to let someone take a look at this contract that's been put in front of them. Let someone become the project manager that takes this to the end. And it's not, again, not different from any of our other clients. So I encourage, go look at our YouTube channel and take a look at all of the stories we've told about why you need expert project management, and why it's a really risky road to take to do this on your own in house.
Yes. Speaking of storytelling, tell us a story about either a current client or a client that we've helped in the past. What were some of the challenges and what were the outcomes of a project, specifically a housing authority?
Well, there's so many, but one housing authority in particular I can talk about without naming them, of course, is
Mhm.
they had they had this one massive system that was supposed to be doing everything for them, right? Housing operations management, intake management, property management, financials, HR, payroll. And they had it for about 30 years. And over the years, the questions they were asking us were, is this the right system for us? Why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work? Why do we have to have this much amount of paper or Excel sheets that help us do our jobs every day? Is there anything better? And our answer to them always, well, it depends on what you want to do, right? So then finally we were able to do a project with them where we did a analysis. And this is like a short project that looks at, hey, here's where you are, is where you should be. Without getting too much into the weeds, we think that you need to, here's the gaps in the current system, and we recommend you go out to the market and look for something new. And by the way, uh, what you need to do is a in-depth business process analysis that'll tell you what your requirements are, that'll help you keep your vendors accountable. So what happened was that client did all of that, went to the market and pick the what is the best system in the market. And reach out if you want me to name names, but I can't do it as an independent third party consulting firm. We're not biased towards anybody, but because software vendors depend on what you need or on the fit. So anyway, that was a 3-year long process that we took them live last year. And I'm going to tell you, like, the efficiencies are manifold. They've gone from doing things in 2 days, what used to take them a week and a half, 2 weeks to do. Uh, Anywhere from mobile inspections on their properties to purchase orders to work order management, HR, payroll tracking. All of that is now much more automated than it used to be, and that agency is now in a much better shape. I can contrast that to another agency that thought they could take um, an implementation uh, in house, and
Mhm.
a year down the road, they said, no, we can't do it. We need professional project management to come in and fix it. And what we found was, the, the vendor wasn't keeping up to their promises, one. And that's easy to do when the client's organization isn't putting in the time also and the due diligence. So having an independent third party in the mix is critical to the whole process.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to wrap us up. I think we've hit all of the high level things that go into a digital transformation for a housing authority. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think it's a commendable industry. It what they do for our community is tremendous. And when we do work with housing authorities, there's a special kind of satisfaction for having a job well done, because it's immediately helping people in dire need in many cases. So appreciate the hard work.
Yeah, thank you guys. And again, for our viewers out there, if there is any topic you would like us to talk about, please reach out on any of the social media channels. Check out our website, check out some of our client success stories, watch our founder and CEO on his YouTube channel. He does a really, really good job. And just reach out to us. We want to know what you guys think, and have a very, very happy Friday. Bye,
All
guys.
right. Thanks. Bye.